Welcome back to Exquisitely Aligned. I'm Gina Meyer Vincent, your host and your master motivator, here to help you define and design your magnificent future, the one where essentially you become exactly what the world is missing. And today, my second time guest has done exactly that. I'm so excited to have you back, Emma. Emma O'Brien is a certified heart math coach and a Martha Beck Wayfinder trained coach. She blends intuitive and no-nonsense practical coaching skills with her extensive expertise in helping her clients shift their mindsets and change their lives for the better. She helps women get unstuck, stop people-pleasing, overcome overwhelm, and reignite their passion and purpose. Alongside her coaching practice, Emma brings 2 decades of entrepreneurial expertise to the table. She's an award-winning dog photographer and has built successful photography studios in both the UK and South Africa. I almost said US, so it's a good thing I looked again. The UK and South Africa. Emma hosts the Lemons and Pineapple podcast, which I have been fortunate enough to be on, a weekly show where she shares life hacks, coaching tools, and inspiring, insightful guest interviews to help women activate their inner game so they can up-level their outer reality. Welcome, Emma. So happy to have you back.
Thank you for having me again, Gina. I'm thrilled to be able to come and talk to you for a second time.
Well, and what I need to share is when I was on your show, I had such a magical time, and one of your experiences came up, which was swimming with the whales. And I thought I had to take a moment to make sure I didn't hear you incorrectly, because I was thinking with the dolphins. No, Emma, you were with the dolphins. And then I realized, no, Gina, she said it correctly. It's you're just in shock. And so I remember on that episode, I said to you, let's film and talk about the healing energies that are available to us. And today I'm excited to speak to you about animals that you've worked with, that you've swam with, and then also shamanism. There are so many, what I love about the world is there are so many ways for us to find healing. And if we want it, right, it's available to us. And so why don't you share your story about swimming with the whales? Because I'm still, I mind boggled, because I don't know that I'd ever sign up for anything like that or even dream about it.
It's so funny, isn't it? I've always loved humpback whales since I was a little girl. I don't know what the affinity with whales is, but they've always, I can remember I had a World Wildlife Fund endangered species book, and I was a bit obsessed with humpback whales. And we were in Mozambique in December 2022, and they were talking about how the path of the humpback whales, when they're migrating from Antarctica up to the warmer waters to all hatch out their babies, and then they, go back down again. And they were saying, yeah, you can see them from the breakfast bar here. You can see humpback whales jumping in the water. And I'm thinking, oh, this is exciting. And then they said, we're doing ocean safaris, and you can actually go and swim with the humpback whales. So I'm like, where do I sign up for this? I'm there. And so we went back. It's winter time for Africa in July last year. And we went, and then we went again in August, because going one time wasn't enough, and we went out swimming with these whales, and it's a bit of a story, because you go out on the boat and you have to go and spot them. And even just seeing them from the boat is an emotional experience, because they're majestic,
magical.
And you see them from, humpback whales especially, you see them from the boat and you think, yeah, that's big. That's big. But, they're 40 tons.
Yes, I have seen them from a boat, and in Alaska, and I thought to myself, we're too close. and so to think of getting in the water and swimming alongside them, would never have crossed my mind. But go ahead. Yeah, they are. It is a quite emotional. If you haven't done it, I would definitely recommend putting it on your bucket list and making it happen sooner than later. Because, well, maybe the swimming later, but the from the boat first, so that you don't come back and yell at me. But it brings like all these emotions, because it's like, for me, I remember thinking, how does something that large propel itself out of the water? Like, how does it float? How does it move? And oh my gosh, what does it eat? You know what I mean? Like, I know what I like to eat in a day. But yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah. And I think it's 40 tons. So a whale is the length of if we were in London money, a double-decker bus. A double-decker bus is freaking enormous. And then you see them and you go, ooh, that is actually really quite large. You can intellectually visualize it, and you have to spot them. And then the rules, obviously, we have to be respectful of wildlife when we're interacting with it. There's no touching. There's no driving the boat right up to the whales. You have to stop with 150 meters distance and then get in the water and swim to them and hope that they stick around and don't swim away. So it's quite an energetic process. And when you're in the water with them and you see one come past you, you get a gauge of just how big they are. And I think, to come back to the emotional experience of it, they inspire awe, and awe is one of those emotions that I think is absolutely flooring in a wonderful way, because it just brings up a flood of very positive emotions. I mean, it's just, you're tiny compared to a humpback whale, and they're so gentle and big. And it's awe-inspiring. And I think it's really good to put yourself in a situation where you get to feel awe. It's a really, really transformational state to find yourself in.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you bring that up. I think that oftentimes I ask clients to, see the world through a child's eyes, become playful. And I think a child, especially a young child, they're in awe of everything, right? They're just like, oh, wow, what is this? The first time they touch Play-Doh or clay or use a crayon or, do a dance that nobody's seen before, and they get the applauded. And I think I love that you said, I wrote it down, a flood of positive emotion and transformation. And I think if we can live with that awe, like I'll never forget, and I don't know why I'm going to Christmas, but I guess it's, I just wrote an article for Thanksgiving, so maybe that's why. But I, one time in a yoga class a couple decades ago, said, what if we acted like it was Christmas every day? And someone said, well, it would lose the appeal. And I was like, no, but what if we walked around in that giving, like, in that generosity, in that spirit, in the childlike awe of Santa's coming and what might I receive, and I love that you brought that up. So once you were in the water, and how did it feel? Because I'm thinking my heart would be in my throat. I'm not sure if I'd be able to swim.
Yeah, there was awe followed by terror. Sometimes it's good to be
yin and yang,
yin and yang, awe and terror.
Yes.
And I think it's one of those things again. We come back. I think we touched on it when we spoke. Is when you do things that push you massively out of a comfort zone, you build confidence. Because you go, oh my goodness, I was brave enough to jump in the water with a 40-ton whale. And I think it was a confidence building exercise and an awe-inspiring exercise. And it is, your heart's pounding and they're telling you, don't splash, don't shout, don't point. And I'm like, there's a humpback whale, oh my God, and they're like, shh, going to disturb it. I'm looking, And the funniest thing was when we got in and there were 3 of them, and they often, when they've had their babies, there'll be a mother and a calf, and then they'll have an escort whale with them. And we got in the water with them, and the visibility wasn't great. So you end up looking above the water to see if you can see them, and then down in the water to see if you can see them coming past you. And I happened to look up, and I popped my head out of the water, and so did one of the whales. And they often pop out so they can just see, because it must have, they never seen what must have gone through its head is what fresh hell has been unleashed here with these very excited humans and all of this splashing. What the hell is going on? So it popped up, they had a look, and then they disappeared off again. But it's amazing how something so big can just disappear. So, and then you're kind of thinking, where have these really big whales gone? Where are you? Are you going to pop up somewhere? But no, it was a fantastic experience. And to come back to the confidence building piece of it, I sat on the boat every time when we spotted the whales thinking, maybe I'd just stay on the boat. I could just stay on the boat because it would be easier to just stay on the boat. Yeah, then Gina's like, I'm staying on the boat. I'm there. And then you kind of, you get in and think, but if I stay on the boat, I'm going to miss out on something quite magical here. So it's a fantastic experience. And I highly recommend for anybody who has the opportunity to do it and do it ethically. So please just, I think the caveat has to be to make sure you're going with a responsible boat operator and that they're respecting the whales. It's so important we have that respect for the wildlife that we're interacting with. But what a privilege to be able to see them up close. And then whilst we were out searching for some humpback whales, we saw a pod of dolphins coming past. And I mean, the guy driving the boat hadn't even stopped when I was over the side. Dolphins straight in there. So hadn't even come to a standstill. Emma's off the side to swim with the dolphins. So just magical experience, and utterly life-changing. I think it's we have what spurred me into doing it, and I can't remember, we might have touched on it, is I think we did, is COVID was a wonderful reminder for me that we take for granted that we'll always have time to do things. And it's really changed my outlook on life of if there's something I want to do and I've got the opportunity to go and do it, I'm going to go make it happen and go and do it. Because it can be something like swimming with humpback whales is such a big bucket list item. You can just say, I'm not going to bother with that. Just go do it. If you've got the opportunity and you want to do it, go and do it.
Yeah. And I think that so often, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm a fan of COVID, but I'm a fan of what I'm a fan. Right. Because you have to be careful what you say. Sometimes what I say and mean are not the same thing. And my husband has the same problem, or at least he claims he does. That's not what I meant. Oh, okay. But I am a fan of how it awakened so many people that life is truly precious. Life can be somewhat short and life can be unpredictable. And what we think, is awaiting for us and always available to us may not be. We might not be healthy enough to be jumping into the water or get on and off a boat, of that type to go do such we may not have the money, we may not have, the energy. And so I think it's very important. I love that you said that, because there are so many times where it's like we're staying on the boat, right? You use that, what we would miss out. And I think that's one of the things I love working with people, and I know you do too, is helping people make it happen, make their dreams come true, make whatever their calling is, the legacy that they want to leave, helping them get off the hamster wheel and onto the boat where they can then swim, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we have these invitations, and we have to say yay and nay to, we can't take every single invitation because we'll be exhausted, but pick and choose. And where can we save the money, get the airline ticket, go to do something magical. And even just traveling, right, opens up our eyes. And these experiences, I love like awe, and you said, right, complete terror, all in the same, right? It is for so many things. Like if you just step back and think about, for podcasting, right? It's exciting, but in the beginning you're like, oh my gosh, I need the camera to work, the light to work, the mic to work. I need to make sure I take the mic off of mute, right? I have to make sure that I have the right speakers so that I can hear Emma, because I've done that before where my computer just, for whatever reason, overnight changed speaker systems without me knowing,
Excellent.
And so yes, I was like, calling my husband and my son, help me, I can't hear, and they're like, did you check? And I'm like, why would I check that? It was set properly yesterday, well, sometimes things happen. But, I think you hit the nail on the head, and being in awe of things really, for me, it's like the thrill, that the emotion we're supposed to feel, you know what I mean? More often than not.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't recommend the terror so much, but it was good. It's good terror. So seek out good terror.
Yes, terror that stretches you, not puts you in an ambulance.
Yeah, stretching terror. Yeah.
So yes, so I love all of that. Let's talk about animals in general. The ones that we can have in our home that right before we started filming, I had to go check on mine and separate them because they were getting rowdy, and we could hear them on the podcast, which was not going to work. But being an award-winning dog photographer, do tell, because that alone, award-winning sounds fun, photographer sounds fun, and then dog, all three is like the trifecta of excitement and awe. So how did that come about? And I know you do other things now, but like if you can explain, because I think that's something, maybe it doesn't cross people's paths, but there are so many opportunities for employment and following your passion and making a career out of it, right?
Absolutely. The dog photography was a complete accident. So I never set out to be a dog photographer. I adopted a little sausage dog from my local SPCA in, I think, February 2011. And whilst I was there, I said to them, I'd been in South Africa for about 18 months, and I was slowly building my business, but the guy I was in a relationship with had a good job, so I wasn't under pressure to do anything. So I had a bit of time. So I said to them, can I help you with something, with donating my photography skills, with some fundraising or something? So we came up with the idea of doing a fundraising calendar, which involved me then going and photographing a bunch of dogs and cats that had been adopted from the SPCA. So off I went to go and do these photo shoots, not really having any sort of clue what I was doing. I figured it out as I was going along. And then from the back of that, I had people asking me to then photograph their animals. So the animal photography evolved completely by accident. And then I found, actually, I quite enjoy this, and actually I'm quite good at this. And so it's gone on. And that calendar, we did, the first one came out in 2012, and the 2025 one is currently being printed. So it's been a project that it's wonderful. It's been a project that's happened every year for 13 years now. So the animal photography it evolved from that. And I think that the lesson I got from that was, sometimes when you follow your passion and you follow an idea, the path kind of unfolds in unexpected ways if you are prepared to be open to allowing it. And at the time, I was doing mostly family photography, and fast forward to 2024, and the majority of the photography stuff I do is dog related. And I do private commissions for clients. I also do quite a lot of commercial work for for pet brands. You know, pets are big business here. They're big business in the States, big business here. So it's a career that's evolved, like I say, completely by accident. And it's something I find really enjoyable. Of course, from the SPCA, I ended up going to a couple of other shelters and doing photography for them, and then bringing more dogs home. At one point, we had 7 dogs here. We now are down to 4. So much more manageable than 7. And yeah, I mean, I've got a house full of brown, trashy street dogs, and I wouldn't have it any other way, really. But that's what I've kind of ended up with. So,
and Emma,
it keeps on giving.
Yes, and if we lived closer, I'd be at your house playing with them. I know that, you know, when you were speaking, the word I wrote down is when you were giving back. You know, you were passionate about something, you wanted to help somebody, and these animals and this rescue. And you know, I love the fact that when you said if you're open to it, because I think so many times people don't see the path that's like unfolding, like I was thinking the yellow brick road from Wizard of Oz, right? All of a sudden you have on these ruby shoes and the yellow brick road just opens up. And if you're willing to see and explore, and again, be that childlike without any expectations. I had a conversation with a gentleman yesterday, and he was saying, I don't want to get excited about what's going on in my business. And I looked at him and I said, why not? Like, why not get excited? I said, when you get excited, I said, but don't put any expectations on what's going to come with this prospect, but be excited, because that's when you see the paths that are unfolding. And I said, that excitement from a quantum physics, like when you were speaking about awe earlier, right? When we're in awe, we show up, we appear in a different way. We see things in a different way. Others see us in a different way. And that's when we can see those paths. So I love that, you know, we don't always have to have the answers, right? To where is this going to go? You know, it sometimes, right, we think of a parent asking us, well, Emma, where's this job going to take you? And you're like, well, I'm only 13. I thought I would that's it. Like, I don't know where this job's going to take me. You know, if we have that kind of like answer, like, hey, I don't know, but I'm just going to see, instead of the adult with the judgment and the rules, maybe, of like what it should look like. So I'm glad you got to like feel into that and see. And so, and I, like you, would have had 7 dogs, cats as well, because I ended up, when we left North Carolina, I had found a pregnant German Shepherd, kept her, and now I never had a dog, and I found a pregnant dog, which I didn't know she was pregnant until we went to spay her. And the vet said, okay, we have an issue. What do you want to do? And I was like, well, I guess we're having puppies. Please close her back up. And I already had, I had 2 cats, and then we found another cat. So we left North Carolina with 2 German Shepherds, mother, daughter, and 2 elderly cats and 1 like midlife cat. And they all since have passed. We lost 1 animal per year since we arrived. Shame. And now I have 2 new dogs. But yes, I always thought if I volunteered that I would probably have more animals than the shelter. And I knew that would be a problem.
Yeah. Slippery slope. Slippery slope. By the time you've got 5 or 6, what's 1 more? You know, it's just but it was chaos. And I look back now, and 4 is a lot. I'm not quite sure how I coped with it. I think we just kind of coped with it because it was a lot. There were two big dogs, and it was chaos. So I'm at a time in my life where I'm really not trying to attract chaos. So I'm trying, working on calm. So we're keeping it at 4. But, I was at one of the shelters a couple of weeks ago taking pictures, and there were loads of puppies. And, you look and you're like, oh, I could you just slip one in the car. But yeah, exactly. Or two. Gina would be there, one in each arm, one in my bag.
One for Mark, one for me, one for Kai, one for Sonia.
There you go. 4. There you go. And one in the bag. So, yeah, I just, I don't know. We had the last one in is Ziggy, who I got during lockdown. So this is a proper lockdown dog. She's a bit dysfunctional. She's completely crazy. And I think I've been cured of puppies thanks to Ziggy. I don't know that I could ever have anything as neurotic and crazy again, but let's never say never. So I don't like to tempt the universe. It could be worse. So we stick to 4 now.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful that you have all 4 and that you've had more than that before, because I think it's so I'm thinking of a story that I read, and I cannot recall where it was published, but it was a brilliant teacher who, like you and I, had a passion for animals and for her students. And she was working with children. They were young, learning to read, and they were really struggling. So what she did was she asked her she was in a smaller town where it would be convenient and easy, and the parents approved it and the shelter approved it, that she would bring the children once a week to sit with the cats in the cat area, and each child could read while playing with the cats, so they could multitask. And what they were able to prove was by a child being calm and reading to a cat while petting it, their reading skills improved. I forgot the numbers. I'm a numbers person, but it was like far beyond, it exceeded what she ever had dreamt. And the beautiful thing was many of the parents saw the connection between the child and the cat and adopted. And so it was like this magical win-win. And I mean, I remember growing up, we always had one cat at a time. When the cat behaved, it was my cat. I mean, the family cat. When the cat did something wrong, it was, Gina, get your cat. Your cat just, clawed the curtains. So it was always funny, I guess, when you're the oldest and you're the cat, the first one with the kitten, then it becomes your cat when it's doing something wrong. But anyway, it was always a lot of fun. And I thought to myself, yeah, I know there's been other studies that show that when they bring an animal to a nursing home, that the patients light up again. And just even the stroking has helped people with their, I think it was blood pressure, like allowing people to relax. So it's I had an acupuncturist once here in California that I was newer to, and he asked me, do you have pets at home? And I thought, okay, why are you know what I mean? He's putting in the needles, and I'm thinking, okay,
yeah,
that's
ow.
Yeah, I was like, that's an odd question. Never had an acupuncturist ask me that, but yes, I do. I actually have, and at the time, that's when we had the 5, the house full, more animals than humans. And he said, oh, that's great. In Chinese medicine, we believe that a home with animals in it, proper animals, I'm not talking mice or, a bird that flew in extraneously, but he said, we believe, we've seen that the energy is different. And I'm assuming you can.
Yeah, I can believe it. I think they add something, don't they? Because they're with their little beings. I believe with dogs. So dogs do this extremely well. And one of the reasons why we dote on them so much is they've got big eyes like babies. So they can give the big eyes, and you're going to give them all the snacks. And stroking dogs and looking into sharing eye contact with dogs releases oxytocin for both human and dog. And of course, oxytocin is our bonding hormone, and it's a feel-good hormone as well. So there's a lot of science behind the bonding with dogs and cats. I'm sure it works with most animals, to be quite honest, most mammal animals. And interesting you talking about, as a slight aside, I just wanted to share, there's a wonderful book called The Soul of an Octopus. And it's the soul of an octopus. Yes. So octopuses are incredibly intelligent. And it's written by she's a sociologist, I think. And it's about the octopuses that are in the Seattle Aquarium. Now, they're wild caught giant Pacific octopuses that get caught and put into the exhibit there. These octopuses would recognize individual people. They would seek out touching specific people. They would be gentle, because obviously an octopus of that size, it could probably get hold of you and put you in the tank and drown you. They would spray people with water that they didn't like. And they all had their own individual personalities. So it's not just dogs who enjoy interacting with people. And interestingly, in this book, she also talks about, at the Seattle Zoo, they have an anaconda exhibit, and they were struggling with the anacondas. Every time they had to go to the vet or anything, they were biting people, and, nobody wants to be bitten by an anaconda. Yeah. So they had a very brave lady who would go in and sit and read to the anacondas. And I believe I think I'm correct in my recollection from this book, that it got to the stage where the anacondas would come and curl up on her lap whilst she was reading to them.
Yeah, it's I have goosebumps, Emma. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I mean, and now tears in my eyes. You're ruining my makeup. No. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's just, for me, it's just so fascinating, right? I mean, animals are, like you said, having a puppy, Ziggy, and I have Malibu right now, who was biting Toby. That's why I had to run upstairs and separate them so that we could film. And, so puppyhood, it's hard, and kittenhood and whatever, but, it is. And I wrote about the oh my gosh, I can't say it now, oxytocin, because I didn't know about that, but it makes absolute sense, because I know how I feel, right? And it's always funny to watch, like, grown adults, come little, like the voice changes, it's almost as if they're speaking to a baby. And I just think having pets around us is so healthy. Let's talk about, because before we started filming, you had mentioned reducing stress. And I'd love for you to speak about that. And then I'll share a quick story about someone I met, that had exactly that. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think, we've got the bonding hormone, the oxytocin hormone, with our dogs and cats when we pet them. The scientists who measure these things have recorded, as you've said, a drop in blood pressure when we stroke pets, because it calms us down. I've been doing a bit of research and reading into polyvagal theory. And one of the things that we need as humans is connection, and being able to connect with another person or an animal and be seen and understood and resonate with them puts us into co-regulation, which is a stress reducing, calming state. And we can do that with animals as well as with people. So holding your dog, stroking your dog, your cat, your snake, apparently as well. I think possibly be careful with the anacondas, but they really reduce stress. And when we have natural ways of being able to calm our nervous systems down, especially if we've stressed out with work, we've got frenetic schedules, being able to come home and de-stress with the animals in our house obviously sets us up for a better day the following day. It sets us up for a good night's sleep. It's super powerful. And walking dogs. So movement and exercise is a natural stress reliever. If you have a dog, you can take your dog for a walk, and you can, it's stress reduction. We can talk to our pets. And I think often speaking stuff out loud, even if you're talking to your dog, gets it out of your head, and it allows you to process through things. So talking to our pets is really, really powerful too. And of course, we've got things like equine therapy. People will do it as well with dolphins, of taking people out and spending time with animals and connecting with them gives us a sense of meaning, a sense of purpose, and somebody else to co-regulate and calm our nervous system with. So, I could go on. So the more,
and I'm like, yes.
Yes. I don't think it matters. Mammals, obviously, dogs and cats are a bit easier because you can hold them and you get a little bit more back from them. But I think any kind of companion animal is the companionship that we value, and the touch that we value. So I think even if you've got a pet rat, it's still going to do the job for you if it's a cuddly pet rat. And an anaconda, apparently, if it's a cuddly anaconda. Not sure you'd want a pet anaconda, but
No, and it's so, I think it's even more important nowadays. I mean, we have these devices. My phone is always near me. That's why I don't wear a watch anymore, because I'm like, we're connected, but we're disconnected. And I love that you brought that up, because those relationships as humans, we want to seek out those bonds and those times. And the woman so many years ago, before being married, I was dating somebody, and he knew my rabbit had passed away, because I had a rabbit. A lapierre, and really cute. He acted like a cat. He ended up, I had him trained that he could use a litter box. I mean, it was hysterical. Nobody would believe me until they came and witnessed it. And they do, they would rather use a litter box than be in their crate, and he would run around. But I lost my rabbit. And so he passed away, and I wanted another. So this guy said, hey, there's, if we drive an hour and 15 minutes, there's this, it was like a farm animal show. It was totally out of my sphere as a New Yorker who's now living in North Carolina. We were in the middle of nowhere, and it certainly was a farm animal show. And they were getting graded. Like, they were winning awards for how beautiful, how all these different things. And I just wanted a rabbit. So we went, and I met a woman, and she was magical. We talked with her, and she said I forgot what field she was in, but she had a high-paying, high-stress career that she had been in for X amount of years. She was married at the time, still married, but she went to the doctor, and I think she had some heart issues for a young person. She had issues that she shouldn't have had. And the doctor said to her, you cannot continue to live like this. You just won't make it. You need to find a way to release stress. And so he said to her, you should get a pet. And I think she started off with one sheep, and then, a lamb. Then she got a herd. Then she started with rabbits, and she had a farm now. And she eventually quit what she was doing. Her husband said she's the happiest she's ever been. And I walked away with a $10 bunny who was the cutest thing. And she said, I only can charge you $10 because the mother was grooming the bunny so well that she ate off his tail. I guess the tail wasn't clean, and she pulled off all the fur. And she said, so if you're okay with a rabbit without a tail. And I was like, I just think this one is the cutest. I wasn't going to show him. So I went home with Brubeck. He was the cutest thing. Oh. But it was so fascinating to hear, because I was like, how did you get into this? Like, she's like, oh, this rabbit won these awards and that rabbit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they all look cute to me. I couldn't tell you which one I would have awarded because its ears are proper or whatever. But it was very fascinating to step into that world, but also to see somebody who was corporate, high pressured, big dollar, go to maybe a more simpler life, which was more fascinating, thrilling, and she was glowing.
Yeah.
I mean, just radiated health and peacefulness, calm, no stress at all. It was, I was looking at her thinking, I can't even envision you stressed out in a business suit. She goes, good,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I can totally believe it. I think, animals are such an important part. And one of our basic human needs is for connection. And, the people who are doing research, they have, children don't do well if they don't get nurtured and held from being small.
Yeah.
It does damage later in life. And even for adults, loneliness can cause all sorts of things, heart disease, all sorts of illnesses, because we are unwell when we don't have connection. And not everybody has or wants connection with other people, but if we can have connection with animals, we can have that same sense of belonging and love and wholeness. I mean, they're amazing beings.
Yeah. And I also think, as you were saying that, Emma, I was thinking about as people age and they may not be able to get out as often to see other people, just having a pet in the house could be like, I don't want to say life-saving is not the right word, but like really, keeping them, having a reason to wake up in the morning.
Correct.
Or like you were talking about, going for a little walk, even if it's just into the yard and back into the house, but giving somebody a little more purpose and having connection 24/7, even if they're not able to drive anymore. So I do want to talk about a little bit, we may have to have a third episode where we can talk more, but this might be a series, Emma. Little did you know, you might have to come in person for us to film next time.
Excellent. I'm there.
Yes, please. And I know there are humpback whales coming, so we can make sure we align it timing wise. But I know that you're in training and a good way through for shamanism. And so I'd love, because we're talking about energy and connection, and I think it only makes sense to speak, or for you to speak. I'll be quiet. And share with us, if you can, either, what is that for the person who may not have heard it before. I've been fortunate enough to have been with several shamans, 2 in Mexico at different times, a woman, 2 men in Mexico, and then a woman here in Orange County. But if you can give a voice to what is it, and then how did you get into it, and what are you loving? Because I know that you sparkle and glow when you speak about it.
So I think shamanism is it's so funny because I say shaman, you say shaman, potato. For me, it's my interpretation of shamanism is living in connection with nature and living with respect to nature and to Mother Earth and her inhabitants. It's also a means of healing. There's a healing modality for people. The shamanism I've been doing has involved doing plant medicine journeys, which of course we're using plant medicine to reconnect to ourselves and and the energy of the earth and the universe. I think it's realigned. For me, it's realigned the fact that we are all interconnected. It's realigned my thinking, and it's made me take a look at the impact I have on the environment around me. It's impacted my buying choices with, unfortunately, I think it's so difficult to get away from single-use plastic. It's everywhere.
Right.
But I've started to be more conscious about my buying behaviors, and how I'm consuming. I've also been, training to use it as a healing modality. So I've started doing soul retrievals for people, which is a really powerful healing modality of helping people bring them home to themselves and to shift limiting mindsets and limiting beliefs is how I would interpret a soul retrieval. And I think it's just shifted my way of being. It's got me more in tune with the birds in the garden. It's got me more appreciative of sitting out and watching the sunrise and watching the sunset. It's enabled me to be more present with the natural world and to come back round to what we started with, to allow me to be in awe more often. And, it's so important for shifting yourself into a better feeling state. And when we feel better, we show up better, we do better. Yeah.
And I could listen to you all the time, but it's so beautiful the way you describe that. And I think for me, I didn't do those studies. I've read and experienced it firsthand, but decided not to train in it. But because one time I did look into it heavily. But anyway, look, there's so many things we can learn, right? At some point you have to say, okay, wait, hold on. But I'm not going to say never because I just don't say that. But when you were talking about being more present, being more in awe, watching the birds and being present for the sunsets and feeling the connectedness, for me, yoga gave me that many years ago. I started as a practitioner, a student, and ended up reading a passage in a yoga book that said, if you want to learn something more about something, teach it, because your students will ask you questions that'll then have you being able to explain, just like you explained to us, what is it? And how is it helping you? What has it changed? And I think if we can find anything, whether it's Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, shamanism, however you want to say it, is find what you can. If you take away only one thing from what Emma and I are discussing today, is find that thing that helps you live more in awe and feeling the connections, because we are, and I love the fact that you brought up about the single-use plastic. It is hard, especially in America, to get away from. I mean, you really have to seek out a farmer's market on the right day here to be able to avoid that. And even like thinking about, instead of throwing something away, if you're not going to be able to repurpose it, but to donate it, you know what I mean? Instead of, like, I was having a discussion with somebody and they said to me, just very off the cuff, oh, we just buy new Christmas lights every year. We just assume that. And I was like, well, what do you do with the old ones? And they're like, we throw them away. I was like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Like, have you ever been to the dump? It's like when you go to a dump, then you're like, oh yeah, we might just think the garbage man the garbage person, excuse me, but the team that comes to take away the trash, it's like all good and gone, but it's not good and gone. And so I love that you gave a voice to that too, because there are little things, and I think that we have to remember not to, of course, it would be nice to like snap your fingers and change everything in a few seconds. But the reality is it's just having that intention when you're shopping or when you're throwing something into the garbage. And, you know, it might take a little more time, or it might mean going a different direction to a different store, or bringing your bags here in California. It's very different than where I grew up in New York and North Carolina. they charge you for the plastic bags or the paper bags at the grocery store. So initially when I started grocery shopping, I was like, oh no, I left the bags in the car again, and it's like you run outside to get your recyclable bags, and now it's like a little more second nature, like, oh yeah, sometimes when I think I'm only buying 2 things, you know how that is. You walk into the store for 2 items and you didn't realize just how hungry you were secretly. Now you're like buying everything and you're like, oh, now I can't just carry it in my arms or throw it in my purse. So, but yeah, I love that you brought that up, and the healing part of it is, what's the right word? Impressive, awe-inspiring. I mean, just the list goes on. So yeah, what else do you want to add to that? Because I know there's so much to that modality.
Yeah, I think, and I'm still learning. So it's taken me on a path of reconnecting to myself. It's taken me on a path of really lighting up my own and trusting my own intuition, I think, has been a big part of it. Doing some soul retrievals for people, and you kind of listen to it and go, yeah, soul retrieval, what a load of hocus pocus. And then do the soul retrieval, and I found that clients afterwards, I had a client yesterday who I did a soul retrieval for a couple of weeks ago, who just said to me, it changed my life. I mean, it's amazing. So it's just been so powerful and I'm, like I say, I'm still quite new. So I'm a new shaman, but I'm really enjoying it. It feels very natural. It feels a bit like I've outed my inner weirdo, but it's also completely fine. One thing I wanted to add, so I love that you talked about the single-use plastic and using shopping bags. One insight that I had after a plant medicine journey that was telling me about sustainability, and I was like, wowzers, as if I don't have enough to do without be talking about sustainability. You can switch out for a reusable water bottle. That's a huge thing you can do that's really, really easy. And it will reduce the amount of bottles you're using hugely. So that's one thing. And then the other thing we have done here is have a compost bin for vegetable food waste. And it's amazing how much it reduces what you put in the trash each week when you're putting food scraps into a compost bin. Obviously with those, it's just no meat foods. I mean, I'm vegetarian anyway, but there's no meat food scraps going in there. So it's all plant-based matter that goes in there. And at some point, it will be able to be used as fertilizer. Currently, the bin is housing a collection of spiders who must think like all their Christmases have come at once with all the little fruit flies that are in there. I worry about opening the bin lid and having a spider that's like the size of a dinner plate climbing out,
No, I know, because we do the same. And I just put some of the stuff in there yesterday. And as I opened it, I was like, oh, it is, you hold your breath, do not inhale through your nose, and you open and dump. But yeah, it does make a difference. And I love the fact that you brought up about the water bottles. I mean, here it's pretty popular in California to use, carry your water bottle with you and just refill when you need to. And it's a lovely thing to see. I know that it doesn't happen everywhere, but here people do invest in a decent water bottle. And I mean, we have a cabinet full of them. Some days I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a never ending. So my daughter's the worst culprit. Oh, I got a new one with a different color. I'm like, apparently they had to match her like theme. Yeah. I was like, okay, I have one it's a little smaller, one it's a little bigger. And then I carry both when I'm going for like a long to do or a long day out. So, but yeah, that it is just making those simple little changes.
Yeah.
And
That's it. And
they make big impact.
They do. And I think if we all just choose to do a couple of little things, it adds up to make a big difference. I think it can feel overwhelming, when we are bombarded with the rainforest this and global warming that, and then you look at it and think, well, how the hell can I make a difference? And it's if everybody just does something small, it does make a big difference. I started to tot it up. I'm going to catch myself out with my maths here. But if you were to use one plastic bottle a day, that's 7 a week. That is 28 a month, which ends up being, what's that? 150 bottles a year.
Yeah, right.
Roughly. And it's massive. And maybe if you're using 2, it doubles, and that's one person. And you think about how much bloody plastic that is. It's a huge amount of plastic. So just by using your reusable water bottle, you're making a big difference in the long run.
When you say bloody, it makes me laugh because it makes me think of my father-in-law. Like, what bloody shirt? He once said, this bloody shirt. And I was like, oh my gosh, who's bleeding? And then I realized, oh yeah, no. It's that, but yes, it's so true. And I love the fact that you use, like, when you think about the rainforest or global warming, it can become an overwhelming, but when you break it down to something simple that you do in a day, it's just as simple as remembering to brush your teeth. I think it's just that easy that okay, I have my water bottle. I've got mine filled because I'm getting a haircut later. So mine is ready to go for when I go to get my haircut. I have water the whole right there, back, etc. And I think that if we can just do those simple things, it makes life easier. Yeah. So
absolutely.
So Emma, I know I need to let you go. I'm going to pull a card quickly from the Opening to Possibilities deck. Let me do one quick shuffle. Whoops, I got here. And we've done this before, so that is not a really quick shuffle, but there we go. And then you just tell me when to stop and tell me which color I'm on. So ready?
Yeah. Stop.
Yep. Now? Okay. Yep. Is it, which one?
Is that one? The red one. The red.
The red. Places. That's it. This is, of course, we started with Mozambique. Of course, you picked places. Physical places hold energy and evoke feelings. Where do you feel your best and why? What do you admire most about these places?
Ooh. I'd like to say I don't have to go anywhere to feel my best. I try to feel my best wherever I am. Is that cryptic enough for you?
Yeah, I love that. No, I mean, that is right. That is the goal, is to be able to be like that everywhere. I love that. And has that always come easy to you, Emma? Was that something you were born with?
No. No, it's been as a result of, I think, years of personal development work. I could say the shamanism has played a big part in it, in just learning self-acceptance and just being okay with who I am, where I'm at, knowing that there are some things I can change because I can upskill, I can get more knowledge, but there's other things I can't change that I have to make peace with. And I'm blessed enough to have a body that moves and works. It's quite a small body. Yeah. It's a body that moves and works. And I think we can get so fixated on, my thighs are too big or my feet are weird or something. And actually, do they work? Great. Yeah. So just, I think that it's just the reframe of nobody's actually perfect, So as my daughter reminds me, having grown up in the UK in the 90s with Kate Moss's Heroin Chic being the touchstone for attractiveness, my daughter has to remind me that, Mummy, that's not the standard for beauty anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think I love that. And, this is a perfect segue. If you're ready to live, like Emma just explained, and find that peace and what's the right word? Comfort, confidence. You know, you can do the journey by yourself. I think we've all tried it. I did for many years. And then if you're looking to get there faster, sooner, quicker, like in a New York minute, please reach out to Emma or I, because this is what we're here for. And it really is magical when you don't have to go anywhere and you feel fabulous and you can see and be and feel connected and know everything is in its perfect divine timing. So Emma, is there, all your information is in the show notes as always. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so, other than to say thank you very much for having me. And if anybody wants to join me on my weird journey, I have an Instagram account, which is Emma the Shaman. If anybody wants to come, there's not much on there yet, but it's being populated. So if anyone wants to come along for the weird ride, you can hop onto that extra Instagram account there.
I'm going to say the exciting ride. So I can't wait to see what unfolds there. And I'll include that, Emma, in the show notes as well. I don't think I had that in the last episode.
No, it's new. It's new and fresh.
Cool. New and fresh. I love it. Awesome. Yep. I'm just writing notes. What was I going to say? And I'll also see if I can share the episode where I was on your show and maybe the prior episode, so that it's all there in the show notes so that you can learn more about Emma and her magical ways of being in the world and how she's helping listeners like you to live and find that peace in the moment and be present, because this really is a blessing that we're able to, like you said, move around and explore and experience and do things magical like swimming with a humpback whale. So Emma, thank you for being back on the show. I love having you. You're so much fun, and I can't wait for you to visit me in person. And I don't even think I told you yet, but for those of you, the other thing I want to leave in the show notes is Exquisitely Aligned, a pocket guide to your magnificent future, is now available for pre-ordering. So the book is, yes, I'm very, very excited. I just found that out on Thursday. It actually went live sooner than we had expected. We always put a little bit of a cushion in between. And so I'm happy to say it's now available, and it speaks on many of the topics that we spoke of today, how to find that space where you can live your magnificent future. So until next time, be exquisite.